I choke on that phrase, we all love our country, because our country isn't so lovable right now. In the current climate, declaring love for our country is like an abused spouse professing love for their abuser.
Yes, Robert De Niro, Travis Bickle. There he is. There is Meet the Parents. He plays dress up and make believe. He played Jake LaMotta. I think he beat and sexually abused his wife in that, didn't he? Typecasting, perhaps? Robert De Niro at an anti-Trump gathering in Washington, D.C. last night at the National Press Club. That's where Larry Sinclair had his press conference and declared that he spent a lot of time in limos and cheap motels doing cocaine and having sex with Barack Obama. That's what I think of when I think of the National Press Club in Washington. But I've got to say, I want to go back to Royce Williams for a moment, the former Navy pilot, U.S. Navy pilot. And just an amazing, amazing story. The president last night had the Medal of Honor draped around the neck of E. Royce Williams. He went by Royce because his first name is Elmer. It's Elmer, like Elmer Fudd. Elmer Royce Williams, just amazing. Born April 4th, 1925. He is now 100 years old and will be turning 101 fairly soon. And reading about this man's career is quite extraordinary. I've got to say, about one of the things that's very remarkable. He served in World War II. He served in the Korean War. He served in the Vietnam War. He now has been awarded the Medal of Honor. He was awarded the Navy Cross, 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, the Legion of Merit with V for Valor, the Bronze Star Medal, Meritorious Service Medals, 2 of those, Air Medals, 11 of those. Pretty good stuff. But he had one day at work that was one heck of a day at work, I guess. And here's while fighting in the Korean War, U.S. Navy fighter pilot, and it was November of 1952, his second mission of the day. Thank you very much. And while on combat air patrol in North Korea, it's amazing. His group of 4 planes spotted 7 MiGs. 7 MiGs. They were MiG-15s overhead, state-of-the-art in 1952 Soviet fighter jets. They spotted 7 MiG-15s overhead. Pretty amazing stuff. 2 of the other 3 pilots had to return to the carrier, and the MiGs began to fire on Williams. Now, listen to this. Putting him into a dogfight with 7 MiG-15s. There he was by himself with 7 MiG-15s. And the fight lasted 35 minutes. Believed to be the longest dogfight in U.S. naval history. The longest dogfight in U.S. naval history. And it's him by himself. And I think he's flying an F-9. And he finds himself, his other guys had to peel off for whatever reasons. I'm sure they weren't wussies. Had to go back to the carrier, go back to land. And there he is by himself, Royce Williams. 7 Commie MiG-15s. He engages in a dogfight, the longest dogfight in history. And there is a great summary after this, because it turns out that Russian records showed, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Russian records showed that of the 7 planes, Soviet planes, MiGs, that he came up against, only 1 returned to base. The other 6, not so lucky. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. His dogfight recorded in the Soviet archives, which released after the fall of the Soviet Union, 1990-ish, the Soviet records confirmed that of the 7 MiGs, only 1 returned to base. That's pretty wild. And a Russian 2014 account in a book called Red Devils Over the Yalu, a chronicle of Soviet aerial operations in the Korean War. And they talk about it, and they talk about Williams and how he just mopped the floor with him. That's pretty amazing stuff. Now, he was awarded first a Silver Star, and then they upped that to the Navy Cross, and now the President of the United States has upped it. You can't up it any farther, to the Medal of Honor. So he was originally awarded a Silver Star, and then in 1953, and then in 2023, just a couple of years ago, it was upgraded to the Navy Cross, the second highest military decoration. And last night, the president upgraded that to the Medal of Honor. Sounds appropriate. World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War. Comes up against 7 in the North Korea, in the Korean War, in MiG-15, 7 Soviet-made fighter jets. And looks like he killed 6 of them and let one go. So that one could tell the tale, you know.
His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor.
And he called it the Congressional Medal of Honor repeatedly. It just has a familiar ring, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Even though in the military it's not called the Congressional Medal of Honor, it's simply the Medal of Honor. But it was wonderful. The man's 100 years old, and he stood up, and he was, he's 100 years old, but he was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and he was fun and just great. Classic stuff. That's a fact, Jack. Yes, sir. Today is also Mailbag Day. I know a lot of people want to talk about a lot of things, and it's day after the State of the Union. Tough for a Mailbag Day. But let me see what I can do here with our mailbag questions, and get right to it. From Kevin. Kevin asks, Chris, most of your vacation trips or cruises are to tourist places, with one exception, your trip to Antarctica. Not very touristy there, except for the penguins. Are there any non-tourist places that are on your bucket list? That's funny. I mean, I'd like to go almost anywhere. Ouagadougou, I'd like to go to Ouagadougou, but maybe just for lunch, in Burkina Faso. And that'd really be, to be honest, just to say, oh, I've been to Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, which used to be Upper Volta, all fun words. I think that'd be fun. But I'd like, there are a lot of places I haven't been in the Pacific, for example, in Borneo. Is that where Joe Biden's uncle, what was his uncle's name? Uncle Bozy, and he was eaten by cannibals, or he could have been eaten by cannibals. The whole story was fake. I'd like to go to, there are still a lot of places I'd like to go to. I'll tell you, my best girl wants to go to Vietnam and maybe Cambodia and Thailand. And I've been to Vietnam, and I've been to North and South Vietnam in some places, but I'd be happy to go back there. I got to tell you, I've always objected to the term bucket list. They're just places I want to go or things I want to do. It's like the old, it's a mad world when the guy kicks the bucket at the beginning and actually kicks a bucket down a hill. The bucket list, but are there? Sure, there are. I'd like to go to the Eastern Soviet Union, to some of those crazy places. I've been to Severodvinsk and Archangel and Moscow and Petersburg and a few other places, but I'd like to go way out there, obscure places. Couple of places maybe but I wouldn't consider them like must-go-to things, like mountains in Africa, a couple of places like that. But I got to tell you, I feel like if I never traveled again, Kevin, I'd be fine with that. 7 continents, 60-something countries. I'm pretty comfortable with my travel list, but I go back, and I go to some place. I'd go to, look for Uncle Bozy, things like that. But thank you, Kevin. That's fun, and I'm gonna bring this home to my best girl, and we're gonna think about that too. Mikey Likes It asks, "Hey Chris, when, not if, they make a movie about your life, I see. Which actor or actress, politics aside, do you think will do the best job portraying you?" That's great. Mikey Likes It asks which actor or actress, maybe because, could be a pretty butch lady over there, would play me. And let me say this, Mikey Likes It. I texted my best girl when Michael presented the question to me this morning. I texted my best girl, and I said, who should play me in the movie? It's a mailbag question. And she said, that's a hard one. I can't think of anyone in Hollywood that I like. That's a really great response, isn't it? That's a great response. So is it, Maybe somebody, maybe Cary Grant, maybe Cary. Oh, he's dead. He can't do it. I don't know. And it's true. Who do you pick? And it's funny that he asked actor or actress. That's funny. Gosh, I have no idea. It'd have to be somebody like George Clooney looking, but with a Jason Statham physical spy capability, and you got to have Jason Bourne kind of thing going in there. I don't know. That might be too ego-y for me. I can think of some other talk show hosts that would happily start listing the best-looking actors in the world. And if it were a lady actor, maybe Rosie O'Donnell. Is she an actor? Maybe Rosie O'Donnell. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit. That's another one I'm gonna have to think about. I'm gonna have to spend more time preparing, I think. Brandon asks, do the Democrats know that Trump was tired of being shot at by their base? If they do, they don't let on. They're good at not letting on that kind of thing. They act like it's no big deal. And it's true, they've shot and killed 3 Republican presidents, starting with Abraham Lincoln. And then communists shot and killed John F. Kennedy, that or the CIA, if you prefer. But either way, kind of same bag of tricks. But isn't that amazing? Do the Democrats know that Trump was tired of being shot at by their base? I think he's made that clear. But I don't think it sinks in. I don't think their brains work as designed. And here, more importantly, this is actually the correct answer, Brandon. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care about human life. They'd be happy to have political leaders in the Republican Party killed. They've demonstrated that again and again. They shot Teddy Roosevelt, shot at Gerald Ford, shot Ronald Reagan, shot Donald Trump. Honestly, they shot McKinley and killed McKinley. They shot and wounded Teddy Roosevelt. They shot and killed Abraham Lincoln. He took their slaves away. They're a violent death cult. They should really just have a big Jonestown event on the Mall, which I was hoping for last night, but that didn't happen. Yeah. So, Brandon, I think they know, but they don't care, truthfully. Stephen asks, thank you, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Stephen asks, President Trump attempted to shame the Democrats last night. We read this one this morning. This one was easy to answer. Do you think they're capable of being shamed? The answer is no. They're incapable of shame. They are shameless. They are without shame. Do you think they're capable of being shamed, or have their consciences been so destroyed that they are incapable of that? I believe that they are incapable of shame. They do things that ought to shame that, ought to be shameful, and they simply don't acknowledge that as a social construct, a societal construct. Shame. They live in a world without shame. They are the Democrats, and that's really true. And if you're a Democrat and you're saying that's a lot of hooey, no, that's true. You're just too dumb to recognize it in yourself. You live without shame. Your whole party lives without shame. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, completely shameless. That was the easiest one to answer when I saw it this morning. No doubt about it. Evil Knievel asks, Chris, what was the most childish thing the Democrats did at the State of the Union? 1, not showing up. 2, Al Green escorted out of the State of the Union with his sign that said black people are not apes. Well, it talked to your party of slavery and plantations and abortion. 3, remaining seated, even for the military. And the final choice, when Trump asked everyone who supports American citizens over illegal aliens, and it was worse than that, because he said, like, killing illegal aliens, killing Americans. And the Democrats are like, well, we're pretty much with the illegal aliens killing Americans. So what was the most childish? Childish might not be the perfect word. The most disgraceful, the most appalling, the most offensive. Having to choose from that, it might be when President Trump asked, do you support the illegal aliens killing Americans, or are you on the side of the Americans who you don't want them killed? And the Democrats are like, no, we're on the side of more Americans being killed. Thank you, Evil Knievel, because as I've been saying for years, that they're the left. They don't care about human life. They got a body count in Minneapolis, and they were thrilled. Renee Good was killed. They were thrilled. Alex Pretty, was killed. They couldn't have been happier. They feel pretty. They're the left. They're not liberals. And the left is a bloodthirsty gang of goblins that have killed more people than any gang of marauding murderers at any other point in history, the history of the world. And now they're here, and they're just getting revved up here. They are anti-American, un-American. They're the left, anti-capitalist, anti-freedom, anti-liberty, anti-Bill of Rights. Who did I see? There was a Democrat I saw yesterday who was he was arguing, he's an elected Democrat, arguing that the Second Amendment shouldn't you should have to be 21, not 18, to own firearms. And so what about free speech? Should we not have free speech until we're 21? Does that apply when you're 18? This is the left. They're not liberals. They're not a Democratic party. They're an undemocratic party. They're an anti-democratic party. And it's getting less funny all the time, got to say. And that's our mailbag. Thank you very much for the mailbag. It's always fun. I got it. Today is a little bit of a pinch because there's so much going on with the State of the Union and everything else going on. You know, rural Americans deserve access to the very best of what our great nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every one of our great states and every city and hamlet, from coast to coast, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense protecting our families, our neighbors, the people that we love. No matter where you live, hospital care does not clock out. Every year, America's more than 5,000 hospitals care for millions and millions of American patients, providing 24/7 emergency room care, delivering babies day and night, treating cancer to keep people alive, other life-saving care that patients rely on and expect in America. Behind every one of those patients, there are doctors, nurses, caregivers, working tirelessly 24/7 to keep those people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They also employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, there's some in Congress that are threatening access to that care, so tell Congress, protect patient care and keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care. Paid for by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Health Care. Here it is. And I've got more crazy Democrats coming up because they never stop. A class action lawsuit in the city of Chicago has found that the city has overcharged residents in the city with parking tickets and city sticker violations, overcharging them, double charging them, triple charging them excessive amounts not allowed by law. And a judge has ruled that the city is going to have to pay back money for parking tickets and sticker violation tickets, $163 million. Yeah, I love the story out of Chicago. I heard on WLS in Chicago this morning when I was doing my Wednesday morning hit with my great friends at WLS. Wonderful stuff. And, I heard $100 million there they got to pay back in their crooked parking tickets and their fake tickets for your sticker, your registration sticker and stuff. And it turns out, it's what they're saying is $163 million that they stole from their taxpayers because they got to buy a lot of crack, those Chicago Democrats. You know how they are. 10 years they've been stealing from the people of Chicago with their tickets. Isn't that amazing? Also, this is important because he's a jihadi. There's an amazing story with Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani. Mamdani the commie, he's a jihadi too, though. And video emerged of him praising a group of Muslims who glorify killing Christians and Jews. Only Christians and Jews. What about the Baha'i? Oh, we'll kill them too. Let's not get carried away here. We'll kill just about anybody. And there's Zohran Mamdani. He's a jihadi. He's a genocidal anti-Semite. He's a racist and he's anti-American because you know how these guys are. They're just ridiculous, bloodthirsty, and a Muslim group. What are the odds of that? Wanting to kill Jews and Christians. Gosh, never heard of that before. I get my news from the Washington Post and CNN. I never heard anything about that. Democratic Mayor Zohran Mamdani of New York has already exceeded one of the worst expectations. Now his behavior forces us to grapple with one of America's founding principles. In a clip posted on social media platform X, Mamdani praised a group of Muslim worshipers who then prayed for, quote, killing of the infidels by your sword. The old, dominance by the sword, and spread Islam by the sword. And he's hanging out with Muslims that are jihadis from the age of dirt. The age of dirt. They're dirt people, mud people. They want to murder everybody with swords. Hey, we've updated the weapons a little bit. You might want to think about that. Yes, sir. And the mayor, the Democrat, said, and he's a socialist, but they're all socialists. They're all murderers or want to be murderers. It's a privilege to be here with you once again. See, he's been there many times before, and just great. Told the group, a clip posted on X. Mamdani made the comments at the Al-Kohi Islamic Center, Islamic Center, and they're praising the slaughtering the infidels. And, the Jews will do as infidels. Christians will do as infidels, slaughtering them by the sword. And there he is. There you go. Yes, sir. A plea for the warmth of collectivism. Remember this during Ramadan, the warmth of collectivism. Then they slaughtered everybody, cut everybody's heads off. You know how they are. Yes, sir. And to do so together, the mayor said, is a reminder that this is the month of Ramadan, as we find moments of reflection. They've got, turns out the sword has a reflective quality. It's a kind of a shiny sword, and you can see the eyes of the people you're about to decapitate and things. It's a lot of fun. So there he is. Yeah. As moments of community, we always do so together. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Yeah. Mob violence. Our Democrat Party. All right, let's see. I apologize. Let's go to the telephones and talk to the great American people. Let's go to Mitch, calling from beautiful South Carolina. Mitch, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey,
good
Mitch.
morning.
Welcome.
Again. Thanks. Calling in. Hey, real quick, I wanted to touch on yesterday's the news about Newsom.
Yeah, the Newsom.
Talking about how he's dyslexic.
Yeah, he's dyslexic, and he's a victim. You can't make fun of him being a moron because he's dyslexic. I think it's the first time he's been in public life for 40 years, and I think nobody's ever heard this dyslexia claim before. It's because he looked like an idiot for a minute, and so now he's claiming a medical malady.
Yeah, well, is anyone else curious about what kind of accommodations he may have had to get his degree from, what was it, San Jose University or something?
Yeah. Well, he's on a book tour. He allegedly wrote the book that he is trying to sell on his book tour, but he says he can't read books. But there are all kinds of videos out there, since you asked, Mitch, of him talking to other authors and saying, oh, yeah, I read your book with Greg Boy. And he said, I'm not the fastest reader, but I really sped through it.
I'm like you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. I cannot read.
I cannot read. He said, because I'm like you. He's talking to black people in Atlanta. And he said, well, you're black. You can't read. I'm like you. And then we had a caller yesterday who was great saying, you notice he started speaking very slowly to them, as though maybe they could understand him better if he spoke slowly to the black audience and tell them, I'm like you. I got an average SAT score of 960, and I have dyslexia, so be nice to me.
Yeah, shamelessly patronizing. I mean, they have no shame. And hey, real quick, I wanted to give you one more quick one. The speech last night, I have to admit that I winced a few times. I usually do. You know, we want to go back to days of old where, you know, the presidential address was, let's say, very stately. And I don't, you know, Trump, I like everything he said. It may not be what people would call stately. But I have to remember, I'm old. I'm 56 years old. And I don't know if I was paying attention wrong. Maybe you remember this, but I remember when the discourse changed and Democrats began to dehumanize Republicans over policy.
Right.
The biggest one that I remember is we wanted grandma to die, right? When we started talking about Social Security, and they run a commercial where they had a Republican that looked like Paul Ryan.
That's correct.
Roll a grandmama off the cliff in a
wheelchair.
It was an actual commercial.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah. So, so spare me. All of you spare me who talk about Trump and, how and Obama, I think, really started the whole thing with degrading the addresses that were given to the nation, pointing out Republicans and I don't like it, but what are we going to do? When are we going to keep getting punched in the mouth and not punch back?
Right. That's right. Well, that's right. It's been going on for years and years. And that's why Trump, because George W. Bush and H.W. Bush and Mitt Romney, and they all just certainly the Mitt Romneys of the world and John McCain's, they stand there and take it and never punch back. And then Donald Trump came along, who had been a Democrat all his life and been working and playing with Democrats all his life until he got into politics and said, well, I can't be a Democrat. So he came down the escalator and is running as a Republican for the presidency. Nothing in between, no governor, no senator, no House member, no mayor. I'm a businessman. Now I'm going to run for president of the United States. And he's very atypical, of course, of not just presidents, but politicians more broadly. And I got to say, Mitch, and I know what you're saying, and I've got lots of friends who vote for Republican and always have, and vote for Trump and still say, he kind of makes me cringe every now and then. You use the word wince, which is a good word. And I understand that. But I got to say, last night, Mitch, I think President Trump was looking presidential throughout most of the evening. And he's himself, so he's going to throw out jokes and jabs. And the Democrats just fed it to him last night, didn't they, Mitch? I mean, they sat through, hey, who's against Americans being murdered by illegal aliens? And the Democrats like, we're not, And the president said, I can't believe you didn't stand up for that. This was a great moment.
You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself.
And Ilhan Omar from Somalia is screaming at the president like we're in the deserts outside of Mogadishu, and there's tribal warfare taking place. It's like, she had a 7-foot-long pointed stick and an animal head next to her. This is the Democrat Party, what they've done to our Congress, Mitch.
Yeah, it's sickening. I mean, these unbalanced, deranged, anti-American, they're infiltrators. How did they get in here?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And it's fun. We had a caller talk about this a little while ago, too. And I've talked about this a lot. They behave as an invading army would behave. An invading army, if we were in 1963 to have taken over the Bay of Pigs, taken over Cuba militarily, the first thing you do, you have your convoys go out to take over the radio station, to take over the TV station. Then when you settle in a little, to take over the local newspaper because you want to control the message. And the left has done that in the United States. And then when you're digging in Cuba to bring modernity and civilization to a communist country, then you take over the university system and you take over the high school and the grammar schools. And the left has systematically and methodically treated the United States as though they're an invading army and when we're the country that they're invading, Mitch. And they've been at it for a long time. And now they are really seeing the fruits of their decades-long effort to undermine the United States, to take over the United States. And it's not the Democrat Party. It's the left. It's the foreign, the international left. It's the Soviet Union. Again, last night, Mitch, my best girl and I, alone in the room watching the TV and watching the what else was there, the State of the Union and all that stuff until it was bedtime. That's for sure. I think we got into bed at like 12:15, and it was great and everything. But the Democrats are just, I've been saying all this stuff for a long time. They're not on our side. They behave like an invading army would behave, taking over education. And the healthcare thing is about taking over your life, and then you'll be beholden to the state because the state has the power of life and death over you when they control your health care, which is really what the takeover of health care is all about. They haven't made it better. They haven't made it less expensive. They've made it more scarce. They've made it worse. They've made it overloaded, and they've made it it's more expensive, and you're more likely to die as a result of Obamacare and all that. And, yeah, you started with Gavin Newsom and his fake dyslexia, which is just a lie. But I got to say, I thought, Mitch, that President Trump was really solid last night, and he was calm, cool. He was focused. He didn't deviate. He didn't go off the teleprompter except to say, I can't believe you people didn't stand for that, and little things like that, which I think showed them up, Mitch. If I were 22 years old and at home looking at this, I'd say, wow, he's right about that. And why are they not standing? I'd have to rewind and say, what actually happened there? But I've got to say, I think a number of people left the Democrat Party last night.
Yeah, I mean, you hope so. But
I hope so. Yeah.
I have good friends. We have very good friends who are fine to make comments out in public about Trump this, Trump that, and good friends. And they're not my friends, actually. They're my wife's friends mostly.
That happens a lot. Yeah.
But they are. It's amazing how they have this selective vision to look around. I mean, and we've said this before. They accuse us of doing something that they've done. They're talking about, they talk about Trump's mental. We just got Biden out of office, and some of these people have the nerve to get up and talk about Trump's mental state.
Right.
They are mental.
They really, really are. It is a mental illness, and and they're bloodthirsty, and look, President Trump was shot once, nearly shot a second time, a third guy arrested very recently, a fourth arrested out in Idaho a couple of months ago. Look, the Democrats are violent. You saw them out attacking the mobs, attacking the police in New York City. Some of them should have literally been shot. You got these big blocks of ice that you're slamming over the heads of New York City police officers, and they're laughing because there's a mob, and they're not afraid because they live in a left-wing city run by Zohran Mamdani. And I literally, if one or two of these guys had been shot, I would have said, well, that was a clean kill. They're violent mobs, Mitch, attacking the police in New York City. And this is normal now because the left is the third world. Mitch, another thing I've been saying for years, wherever the left goes, they bring the third world with them. And the Democrat Party is the left now. They represent the third world. They're closer to Somalia than they are to American values. They despise Leave It to Beaver and Ward and June Cleaver. They despise all that, but they think Somalia is neat while Somalis steal billions from us in Minnesota, of all places. The Democrats are here to destroy. The left is here to destroy, and the Democrat Party is the left now, Mitch.
Hey, you're right on it. You keep it up. One last thing, that what you just mentioned about the shootings.
Yeah.
So so the people, we don't want to say they deserved to die.
Right.
But these people are going out and they are getting not what they maybe deserve, but what they're asking for.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we, because we're civilized people, we like to use the appropriate language, the most polite language. And, a lot of us are growing tired of the most polite language, too. But, no, that's right. Renee Good brought it on herself, and Alex Preti brought it on himself. And these people in New York slamming blocks of ice over the heads of cops, if they had been shot yesterday, they would have brought it on themselves. And their parents didn't raise them well. They're going to end up in penitentiaries. And the Democrat Party literally, and by everything they do, their policies, their language, they want more of this. And they want more illegal aliens perpetrating violent crimes in the United States of America. And if you mention it, then they scream at you and call you a Nazi and a racist. Then they firebomb a Jew's mansion, right? And abort 40% of the black population. Who's the racist? Who's the Nazi? I think I know.
It is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
President Trump last night at the State of the Union also took it to the Democrats and jammed the grapefruit into their faces on child genital mutilation. The Democrat Party is the party of child genital mutilation. We used to condemn that when we saw it in Ouagadougou and in Sudan. But now the Democrats are in favor of, transgenderizing little children. And President Trump took it to them, and they all sat there looking angry.
Surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we were talking about?
Who would believe we were talking?
We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately.
Ban child genital mutilation. No Democrat is clapping, not one. Not a single Democrat. They're all sitting. Like, we're the party of child...
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy, I'm telling you. They're crazy.
The Democrats, not one of them stood up. No, we're the party of child genital mutilation. They should be in Ouagadougou. They should go with Ilhan Omar and move back to the desert sands of Somalia, where I think they'd fit in better. Then, Jake Tapper, CNN, had Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, on, said that's and he's challenging him over transgender child mutilation.
He said, quote, these people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. I mean, but that's not something we ever heard from Obama or Biden. From that Biden. Stage.
No, listen, we've never had a speaker rip up a speech either.
We never had a Speaker of the House rip up a State of the Union speech either. Yeah, Jake, were you really upset about that? How are you? Hey, do you have a kid by your fourth non-wife or something? Honestly, let's mutilate the genitals on. I don't know if he's got a kid. Maybe your latest girlfriend. Let's child genital mutilation.